Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Harika. So in today's video, I am going to show you how we can actually build a robot using Robocorp. So in the previous video, we have seen how we can create the robot and how we can run and debug and how we can monitor the logs, right? So now we will develop. I mean, we can write the code so that the robot can actually work. But before to that, in the previous video, if you remember, I have mentioned something about the terminologies, right? The ones that you're seeing on the screen. Um, these other terminologies. So before actually I started up and explain you what I'm going to talk in this video, let me just simply show you what we are going to see in this video. Okay, so firstly I'm going to show you about the terminology that we are going to use and also the structure of the task file. Okay, the task file has some structures that we have to follow, basically kind of indentations and everything. So I'll show you about that. And after that, I am going to talk about, so let's take a real-time example of basically when it comes to web application, the first and the foremost thing we do in order to perform anything inside the application is logging in, right? So I'm going to show you how we will perform login functionality, logging action by using Robocorp. Okay, so we will see login, and also I will talk a little bit about, I mean, a brief conversation about the selectors. Okay. So this is one main thing when we basically talk about web automation, right? Selectors are the core of the web automation. So without selectors, we cannot perform any of the thing in a web application, basically web UI automation, right? So these are the things that I'm going to talk about, and by end of this video you'll get definitely a good understanding of all the kind of keywords and the selectors that we are using and all the different types of activities that we are going to use. And also you would be able to run a bot of small size in your machines. Okay, so without any delay, let's get into the video and see how we can actually understand all of this. So when I talk about terminology, so firstly, um let me show you here. Okay, I have said you this small bot, right? So let me just run this bot and then I will recreate this for you so that you can also do step by step in your machines. Okay, so firstly I'm going to run this bot. So what this bot is going to do is going to log in into the robotsparebinindustries.com. So I have picked this because I have tried other websites also, but I, because of the confidentiality and everything or concern, I'm not able to actually pick any other websites. So what this actually do is, okay, let me just debug this so that you can see what's happening step by step. Okay. So it has actually opened the application and it will type in the username and the password and it will click on login button. Okay. So it has clicked on login button and it is coming onto this page, and it will click on logout button and it will exit the page. Okay. So that's what we are doing. So we have come back to this application. So while doing this process, there are so many things that we will come across: the keywords, the selectors, the weight elements, and everything that we are going to see in this video. So I hope definitely this will leave you with good amount of knowledge so that you can automate these kind of things in whatever the application that you are going to automate. Okay, so firstly, let me come step by step. Okay, so if you see here, we have something called as settings. Okay, so basically whatever the task that you are going to perform in the task.robot, that will be divided into three parts. Let's assume three parts for time being. Okay, so the first one is settings, task, and the keywords. Okay, so the first one is this portion, whatever we are using, this contains basically the documentation. Okay, whatever the things that we are going to perform inside this particular task, everything will be documented. So we all know documentation is the very important thing So let's say if you are working on a project, and if you had to leave the project, or if you have to submit the project to a support team, which will be taking over from the next time. So if at all, if they see at the documentation, it should be in such a way that they should understand by reading the documentation, so what process we are doing, what is the purpose of this automation and everything. So that's the main agenda of documentation. It should be clear, and it should let the person understand what is the purpose of this automation. So that's the whole thing about documentation, that we have to provide it over here. Okay. And once after that, in order to perform web UI automation, so we have to import some libraries. The first library that we are importing is rpa.browser.selenium. So this library is going to interact with the browser applications. So this library we are going to use. So if you wanted to learn more in depth about this library, there we have a very clear documentation and definitions and all the activities, I mean like the keywords that we can use from this library here. Okay. So once after that's done, okay, this is not required as of now, I'm not using this. So this is about this. I will talk about auto close later on. So this is something about the settings portion, where we will give the clear documentation, and along with that we will also import the libraries that we are going to use throughout the process. Okay, that's about settings. Then what's next, we have something called as task. Okay, so whatever the task we are going to perform in this particular automation, as a part of this automation, that task, whatever the task is there, that task will go in here inside the task. So if you wanted to write in this task, you don't have to be, worried about like the stars and the spaces and all. You have auto completion. Okay, so just give star and give control space. You will see whatever the the like you have different terminologies, right? Like comments, keywords, settings, and everything. So whatever is applicable for you, whatever you wanted to give in, you can just select that, and that will be auto finished. So once after that's done, just type in the control plus space. Okay, so this will give you the auto completion. Okay, so once after that's done, so we have something called as store web page content. This is the name of the task that we are going to use. So this will store the web page content. This is something default that I have taken, so you can just rename this as per your task, like logging into application. That's it. Whatever is suitable for your task name, you can just name it accordingly. So once after this done, what is the first and the foremost thing we are doing? We have to open the application, right? So for that, I'm using open available browser. So this is the keyword, I can say. This keyword, what it will do, it will try to open the browser. So for that, it will actually need a username. So instead of explaining you this way, I will try to recreate this. Okay, so let's start this again one by one. So I'll just have it in my notepad, and let's try to recreate one by one. Okay, so first thing, open open available browser, right? So open available browser, what it actually requires, it has to take a URL, right? So this includes a user profile argument. And how we can actually give the URL, just go into this application, just copy this, whatever the URL that you wanted to provide in, provide the URL over here. So this will open the browser, right? So once after that's done, what's the next thing that we are going to do? We have to type in the username here. So how you can actually tell that you have to type the username into this particular location? This is the concept called as selectors or locators. So this concept will let the robot know the exact address, I can say, the address of the web element on the web page. So if you're not familiar with this concept, I would suggest you try to invest some time in learning how you can write a perfect selector or locator. Okay, so just click in over here, just by doing inspecting. So if you have observed, I used inspect by right clicking, inspect, and just come over here and select this. This is the place where I have to provide my username. So if at all you have ID and the name that are not changing, I mean, like in some cases ID would be volatile, like dynamic, right? Like it will be 1234 or something which is not a constant um attribute value. So in that cases, you should not pick that value. First, make sure if it's a dynamic value or static value. If it's a static value, try to choose in between ID and name. Okay. So if at all this thing is static, so I am going to take the ID, which is username, and just what is the keyword that I have to use here? I have to provide in the username. I have to give the username, right? Excuse me. That is a text value. So input text, this is the value. And what is the locator? The locator is username. That's it. The locator that I have picked from there is username. And what is the text that I have to type in? That is the value, username value. So here from the website, we have the username and the password provided. So I'm giving the username. So once after that's done, I have to give in the password. So for a password, we have input password. Similarly, the locator and the password has to provide over here. Just select this, and this is ID is password. Provide in the password. Okay, and the password is this one. Just copy and paste over here, right? This is simple. We have opened the browser, given the username and the password. So once after this one, let's check till here. Okay, just close this, all applications that are there, and then save your bot, and then try to run it till this point. It has to enter the username and it has to enter the password after opening the application, right? If you see here, it has passed one task and one passed. So username and the password. The next thing is you have to click on the login button. So what is the keyword that we have? Click button. Okay. Just type in click button and you just have to provide the locator. So here comes the challenge. Let me just show you. Click on the login button. So if you see here, we don't have an ID and the name. We have some other attributes, which is type and class, and we have some text. Okay, so if you observe this clearly, this is the point where locators play a very important role. So in this point, at this point, you either have to go for CSS or you have to go for XPath. So I being from a Selenium background, so I know how to write an XPath. Okay, so I would also suggest you XPath is we actually prefer XPath more than CSS because I consider that is a strong locator instead of an CSS selector. But it's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. But yes, as I stressed previously, you just have to have a very strong skill of writing a locator perfectly, because that's the core of web automation. So in this case, I will give you so let's say if I'm giving type and submit, just like how we have given in the previous case, that will be failing. Let me just show you how this actually works. So in the previous case, we have given username and password, right? So in like that, if I give submit, it will show it cannot find the locator. Okay. So it has shown the locator is not found. Either if you give type colon submit also, it would be returning the same thing. So in that case, what you have to do, you have to choose a stable selector. So let me just show you how we can write an XPath in this case. So if you see, there is a something called as login. So this part is called as inner text. Okay, so I will show you how we can write in this case. So let's take the tag first. Okay, the tag is button. So in this case there is only one button, so which is this one. So you can directly use this also as an XPath, but to be more specific and to write the perfect selector, I'll show you how you can do that. So the inner text contains login, right? So I'm just going to take a function contains. So don't feel that it is too hard or too tough, but if you wanted to do a web automation, definitely selectors are very crucial. It may be finding difficult in the initial times, but definitely by with the time this will be getting better. So it contains a text, right? So what's the text? Sorry, it's a login button. So login, and that's it, right? So this is the one, and I am going to save this. So if you see one of one, that means there is only one button with that particular text. So come over here and then just give this as the selector. So what is this one? This is an XPath, right? So just give XPath and that's it. So this will go and click the button and you will be logged in. Let's run till here. Okay, it has passed. Let's go and check. So we have logged in. So once after we logged in, we have to just click on logout. So for just for this example, I'm just going with very small basic one. So I wanted to click on button logout. So for logout, what is the selector? Inspect, inspect. So this is ID. We have ID. So we are very lucky to get this and just log out. Okay. So just run it again and see what's gonna happen. So if you see, it is failed. Why it is failed? We have given the proper selector, right, which is ID, and it is logout, and it is pointing also. If you see, it's pointing to logout when I am highlighting this. But why we are failing? Just read here. So it shows button with selector logout is not found. But yes, we could find it. So what's the reason behind this is it will take some time. Okay, once after you click on login, if you just observe here, so if you just observe here, once after you click on login, it will take some time to load and to come to this page, right? So the robot is very fast. It is not finding that particular web element on the page. So that's why it is assuming that the selector is not there and it is failing that particular piece of code. So in order to do that, what you have to do, we have a keyword called wait until element contains. Okay, so what is that element, what should that element contain? So let's go over here and see. So if we have logged in, it should contain Maria, right? So let's take this as an example, and let's take this. So now I'm going to give you a small task from the previous example, like what I have shown you. You can just write a XPath by your own here, right? So how you can write an XPath? Before you actually write it, just pause the video and try it by yourself. Okay, and then you can just come over here and check if it's right or wrong. Okay, so just give a try by yourself. So what is the tag name? Span, span. And what does it contains? What's the inner text? And what's the name? Perfect, right? So if you could write this properly, then definitely you have actually learned something, how to write XPath when it has a inner text. Okay, this is perfect. And just give the locator XPath. After that, what is the text that it should contain? Medium, right? Perfect. So once after this is available, it will wait until this particular element is available and then it will click on logout. Just save this and run it and see the output. Excuse me. So it has passed, right? So that means we have logged in, have checked the out text, and then clicked on log out and come to the original page where we have actually started, right? So that's all we have seen in this video. But again, I wanted to explain you one more thing which I wanted to do. So if you see here, after the library I have given, which is auto close as this, right? So what it actually does, if you see, whenever I'm running the application and checking it, I'm not closing the browser actually, right? So it is being opened because of this particular command. So I'm using auto close as false. That means I don't want the browser to close every time whenever it gets executed. I don't want it to get closed automatically. So that's what I meant by this command. I kept auto close as false. So let's say if I am taking this off, I have these many browsers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are open already. So let me just run it. The one that gets opened for this particular run will be closed automatically after it clicks on logon. So this is the one, right? And it got closed. So that's what the auto close actually does. And one more important thing that I wanted to tell you is sorry. So one more important thing that I forgot to tell you is um, indentation. So if you see here, everything that we are writing has is actually following some spaces, right? So if you see here, the one like library is there and there is some space between that, and also the logging into application is a task name, and we are not writing the open available browser immediately over here, right? We are actually giving some space. So that's called as indentation. Okay, so this indentation actually follows four spaces. That means one tab. Okay, so let's say if I am if I wanted to write something after open available browser, if I write just like this, like just the URL https and something of that sort, it means this whole thing is the same. It will be considering as a same one, like means it's a keyword, it will consider in that way, but it's not, right? So in order to differentiate the things, we are actually following the indentation, which is a tab or four spaces you can give. So that's how we will be following. And also this is a task, right? So these are the things that needs to be executed. That means these are a part of this particular task. So you will understand about this going in depth, but as of now, if you wanted to use this, I'll drop this whole code in the snippet in the description. You can just copy paste as it is and you can just execute. But if you are getting any errors, make sure that you are following the proper indentation. If you are not following the indentation, so let's say um, I am actually importing a one more library. Okay, library. I just gave one tab rpa.http. Okay, so if you see here, this file is not saved. Few indentations will be saved automatically. So I am just saying Control S, and basically the browser will be saving that this particular task.robot file will be saving some indentations as it is mostly in few cases. But the things that we are giving over here, so let's say if I have shown you the previous example, right? So in order to differentiate, this is a keyword and this is something, the URL that it will take as an input, and this whole thing is a keyword. So if the whole thing is a keyword, you can just separate it with a single space. But if it's a different thing, then you have to follow that particular indentation that it needs. Okay, so that's one crucial thing, because if indentation is not proper, it will throw multiple errors. So that's one very very crucial thing that you have to follow. I hope the basic and most important concepts and the terminologies we have followed and learned in this video. So I hope this video is useful for all of you, and I want you to try it out, because if you just observe and watch, it's quite different from what you actually implement. So I would suggest you go implement, download VS Studio. I have shown you, sorry, VS Code. I have shown you how you can actually do that in the previous videos. If you want, I can link everything in this video's description below. Just try it out and let me know your feedback in the comments. And if you wanted to understand something in particular, also let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video with something very much interesting. So to not miss any of the videos from my channel, go hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you'll get the video as soon as I upload it. Thank you so much for watching.